Sounds good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today for CATO'S Cannabis Chronicles. We're excited today to be talking with Meg Williams, who has an awful lot to say about CBD oil and her experience with cannabis post-pregnancy. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe and hit the little bell so that you can be notified when we upload new content. But for now, we do upload a new series or a new episode of CATO'S Cannabis Chronicles every Wednesday. For today, we're talking with Meg Williams. Hi.
Hi. Thank you. What a great intro. Yeah, it was so funny when you say, so much to talk about. Yeah, there's just so much. It was hard for me to zero in on what we can cover, but I'm excited.
Well, why don't we start with just an intro? Who are you and how did you come by cannabis and your experience with CBD oil?
Okay, yeah. So as you had mentioned, my name is Meg Williams, and I kind of like to think of myself a bit of like a jack of all trades. So I have, so I'm an elementary school teacher, a yoga instructor, a cannabis resource, and gosh, work with meditation, and a mom, most importantly, a mom. So yeah, you sort of had mentioned that postpartum was really sort of when I found my track to cannabis as a wellness resource. I'd had a lot of people recommend it, and I don't think I fully understood the wellness component of it. I thought, no, this isn't, I wanted something that was going to help with my postpartum anxiety, sleeplessness, and all of this. And I thought, I was just worried it was going to exacerbate it. I thought, why are people recommending this to me? Until finally, I had a friend named Simone who she said, you know what? She kind of said, let me just introduce this idea to you. And she said, there's the CBD oil is from hemp, it's hemp derived, and there's no psychoactive effect. And so, not that, I'm really just think the plant itself is marijuana or hemp are both great for a wellness proponent. But at the time, just with what I was dealing with the girls, I thought, yes, this non-psychoactive sounds fantastic. So I'm going to get all these the wellness benefits from it, then sign me up.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, it was life-changing. Like it's, just getting a full night's sleep. And just, I guess too, once I took it for certain things, I also had some digestive issues that having a baby really, having two babies really mucked around with. So it's funny, to be honest, it was probably the digestion issues that pushed me to, I just felt sick. I was nauseous every day.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah. And
post-pregnancy?
So it started with my first, and it kind of became like a pain in my right side. So I think that it had something to do with the gallbladder, but went in and, ultrasounds didn't show any inflammation or anything. So then when I was pregnant with my second, it was, about halfway through the pregnancy, I noticed certain foods would certainly exacerbate like the pain and the nausea. And then once I had my second, then the nausea just would never subside. I thought, like 2 months, I thought, this isn't right. I shouldn't be feeling sick every day. So, I realized something was going on.
Yeah.
So that was, I guess, the most debilitating. Not being able to sleep and having just, nerves. It was a hard pregnancy. I was on bed rest for 3 months before having her. So I think it just put me, it just sort of flipped my mindset from being that, like the growth mindset. And I just was worrying so much more during the pregnancy, and it just seemed to continue after. So was struggling with that. And
Okay.
yeah, just irrational worries and fears, and everything's back on track. And then, you know, just, yeah, once I started with CBD, it was kind of taking, addressing those more major issues, but then just noticing other things really begin to change too. Like just in general, I just had a lot more clarity. Like I thought, wow, I didn't realize, you know, I was just walking around in my days feeling in this fog, and it was just
Right.
kind of like the world opened back up to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great change, a great addition to my life. And it's just sent me down this rabbit hole where I thought, just what else, like, what is it? I guess I wanted to know, not to be just experiencing the effects, but learning, you know, the science behind it,
Absolutely.
and learning about the cannabis plants, both of them,
Right.
because I thought, you know, there's more here than I know.
Right. And more
Yeah.
than what you'd been hearing prior to
Yeah.
this. And so
Yeah.
if I can summarize, the introduction of the CBD oil addressed your digestion issues, it addressed your sleep, and brought clarity.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then started you down this rabbit hole of
Yes.
investigating.
Yes. So I, yeah. And I think before, you know, I trying not to, being in Canada, cannabis is legalized across the country. And then my husband's from Alaska, so we spent some time up in Alaska, which is also one of the states where it's legalized,
Okay.
at a recreational level. And yeah, just for my own, you know, particular reasons with the girls, I just wanted that non-psychoactive approach. But
Absolutely.
learning, you know, as I've really learned, I think that both hemp-derived CBD as well as marijuana, I'm realizing if you approach it from this wellness, when you're turning to it for a specific wellness reason,
Right.
that, you know, and trying to understand, I mean, I think especially with it being prohibited for so long, our culture, you know, this, I don't know, unfortunately, we don't realize, I don't think it was introduced to us, at least me, you know, when I was, first introduced to it as a teen, it wasn't for wellness reasons, right? It was the same as having a drink or whatnot.
Exactly.
Whereas, yeah, now it's just this whole other world. And I just thought, like, why? That, I don't know. There was nobody that in my life who'd ever suggested that it could be so much more.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And
I
so
don't know where
what has your research told you, or what have you discovered that you find significant? And as a precursor, we have had an opportunity to chat, and you've had a wealth of education, so I can imagine it was difficult to sort of hone on what you wanted to share today. But broad stroke overviews, what have you discovered that you find significant?
Okay, so I'll try and keep it narrowed in. So yes, and you know, I didn't even mention this earlier, was that I'm finishing up in my Facebook live series of the blunt answer, and the whole idea of this Facebook series is to share this knowledge, to just share the information and the cool facts and the history, and its multiple benefits with the public, because, like I said, I feel like this just isn't out there. It's coming around now. I think that we're just going to see more and more of it. Absolutely. So some of the things, I guess I keep mentioning how it's, for me, I really opened up to it when it became a wellness focus,
right?
Which just lines up with everything else that I'm doing. So, like, that's one thing that's really neat, is that there is this wellness theory out there of cannabis use. And one of the things that I love it, and because I guess I think too, I do want to be aware that there are people out there who probably feel like they can't benefit from it, and it might not be, you know, I don't want to feel like I would be outcasting anybody by saying, you know, this is the answer. I understand that it is still a substance, and, you know, for example, people who have had substance abuse issues, or
Exactly.
it might not be right for everybody.
Right.
So I love this wellness theory. So what is laid out is there's 3 questions that you can ask yourself. So the first one, when you're thinking about introducing cannabis into your wellness practice, you would ask yourself, what are the effects that I'm expecting or that I'm hoping to get out of the use of this plant?
Excellent.
So for example, when I went to it, well, I needed sleep. I was hoping to be more comfortable, just in general, decrease that. I didn't want to have nausea every day.
Yeah.
You know, so those would be examples of the effects. And then the second would be, do those effects bring value to my life? So for me, the major value was it was going to help me be a better mom at home with these 2 busy girls. And then the third is there anything, or is there any way that it could impact my life negatively? So for example, is it going to harm a relationship, work, any of those relationships? So if the answer is, and if there is a way that it would harm any of those, then it's not for you yet, you know, and it's not to say it's not for you ever, but it would be, you know, wait until, because I can see too that there might be people who are hoping that it'll answer a problem, you know, or fix something. And I guess that's the point too, is that you want to be turning to this more as a tool instead of a crutch, right? Because
excellent point.
Anything wonderful can become a crutch if we're not careful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in answering those 3 wellness questions for yourself, you determined that it was the right thing for you to do, to step into exploring this for your wellness.
Yeah.
And how soon after you, kind of a 2-pronged question. First off, what form did you find the cannabis in? Like CBD oil, I assume? Yeah? And how soon after you started taking the CBD oil, and how did you take it? How soon did you start noticing an effect?
So I would say, and it varies for everybody. Our bodies are all different, right?
And I'm asking this question only in regards to what you experienced,
to my
not what is the general norm, but your specific experience.
So for me, I found the improvement in my sleep was immediate. So the night I took it, I slept so much better than I had been. So the sleep was about immediate, but then I found it took probably 2 to 3 weeks before I noticed my digestive system and the nausea really start to sort of balance out. Where I just felt like I kind of was in the long stretch of feeling good. So that took a little bit longer. Like I said too, like just that mental fog lifted. That was pretty immediate. And what was and just that general anxiety. I think too, it's hard to say, but as the sleep improved, the anxiety, you know, that was more 2 or 3 weeks too with the digestion, but it's just that's been lasting. And I use it every day. I use the CBD oil, so it's drops. I'm using a 500 milligram, and it's sublingual, so I just put the drops under my tongue. And I had started with but I started with a CBD oil, which was the isolate, so it was the THC free.
Okay.
Because I was nervous with nursing, so I just thought I felt safer starting off with that. But then after seeing the results and doing more research about it, I thought I'm not too worried. And I find now that what I like to do is I will take just the CBD isolate. I'll do 4 to 5 drops in the morning,
Okay.
is enough for me. And then in the evening, I'll do 1 drop of the THC free and then 2 or 3 drops of the full spectrum.
Okay.
Because the full spectrum just has that full range of cannabinoids. So it's not just the CBD, but you're getting CBC and THC and gosh, the list of 85 others.
It's a long list.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you do in the morning and then in the evening.
Yeah.
And you find that the benefits that you determined or you discovered upon initially starting have continued and progressed?
Yeah, it's funny. So there was, my family travels a lot. So we were I had left for a week and I forgot my oil at home.
Okay.
And for the most part, it was okay. But the nausea that I had experienced, I ended up, again, if within just 1 week time lapse,
Really?
feeling sick I was sick every evening. So, I mean, I feel like my stress levels and my sleep, none of, that wasn't too affected, and it was a reminder. I thought it's so funny because I think that I'm using it for certain reasons. And I forgot that, I forgot that my digestive complaints were what had originally drawn me to it, because that had been remedied to such an extent.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, and then it took about a week, again, once I had it back, a week until it kind of balanced out.
Okay.
The nausea, at least. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant. Yeah. And confirmation that you're on the right track, that you found something to alleviate your initial distress.
Yeah. And that would, I mean, I find too, the pain body can be so distracting, that when I'm in that mom role and the girls need me, nausea really throws me off, and like just pain in general. So it was a really good reminder about why I went to it, because it definitely has a major impact. And that's, going back to that value component, it has that major value to my life and my husband too. I think there's just so many facts out there too, and research that just shows that cannabis use is so beneficial to relationships. And that's another thing that my husband would say, that our relationship definitely benefits from it.
Wow.
Happy.
So explain that. What do you mean? How does it benefit?
I think that just those effects. So when I'm getting a better sleep, when I'm not impacted, by pain and nausea, and that I end up, I'm able to function, I'm in a better mood. And then it's just an easier family unit. It's everyone.
Absolutely. So you function at, in your best self when you're not bogged down by the nausea and the other complications that come along with the nausea and not feeling well. So then you're able to parent the kids better, relate with your husband better, think more clearly, get better sleep, and on all of that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's funny, I just wanted to bring up, so one of the other really cool things that I've learned about, so this was out of, this was a study that had been done, within Harvard and Yale, I believe. Okay. So anyways, they learned that the effects of cannabis can facilitate something that's called extinction learning, which is something that happens at the cellular level.
Okay.
And what it does is it can, be here. This is where all the information starts to bubble out. So
let it go.
Yeah. I guess this will lead into another thing that I was going to talk about. So extinction learning, they discovered this as they were doing research with patients who were suffering from post-traumatic stress. So whether it were, war veterans, trauma, I feel like it could even, anywhere we might be suffering from a trauma.
Exactly.
And they learned that THC unlocks this shell shock nervous system, and it allows, I'm going to quote this, it allows traumatized cells to move on and to learn that peace has come and will stick around. This is what it's teaching us down to a cellular level. It's telling us, it's like,
beautiful.
It's teaching ourselves, like, basically how to meditate.
Yeah.
You know, and just and understand that they can have faith in what they're supposed to be doing. Isn't that beautiful?
I think, especially when you're talking about trauma, because often, you know, with trauma, there's a part of you that's actually stuck, and this then releases that stuckness and enables your system on a cellular level to understand that it's safe and able to function optimally.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
I know, and like you said, from a cellular level. You can just, I mean, I guess if you want to sort of visualize just energetically, the impact of that on the body, when your cells start to radiate that, you can start to imagine, how we would begin functioning more optimally.
Absolutely. Which really does speak to the fact that your digestive issues are resolved when you're using the CBD oil. Because on a cellular level, your digestion is even notified that things are okay and it can function optimally. That's beautiful.
And I had listened to your episode with Anne Marie, the first one that you had done.
Yes.
And that was kind of what I loved how she was talking about the endocannabinoid system.
Exactly.
Which is within us. It was just, you know, there's doctors out there that aren't even aware of this system yet. So like just talking about that this is in our bodies. Yeah. And it's wild because I guess I do, you know, I don't love the whole healthcare system. You know, I know doctors are there, they're working their hardest, but I think that there are some who, you know, have kind of gotten just lost in the busyness of it and are more so just in a role instead of really addressing the issues. When you think of what these plants do, they're addressing this endocannabinoid system, which is really so huge because, like Anne Marie had said, it's speaking to all the other systems in our body.
Exactly.
So, I mean, when we could take these preventative measures and we could, I mean, that's, I guess, how I think of it too, is just if you are taking and supplementing with a phytocannabinoid, it is preventive in the sense that you're just bringing, and the role of that system is just to bring balance and homeostasis to the body.
Exactly. And the interesting thing, much like you noted when you started taking your experience with the CBD oil was very similar to mine in that I didn't realize I was in a fog until the fog was lifted. And the clarity of thought. I was saying to my brother at the time when I first discovered the CBD oil, like there's so many things I'd been wanting to do and half starting and thinking about in just snippets of time. But I wasn't actually able to bring those thoughts all together and complete the full picture until I started taking the CBD oil for something completely different, like for the pain in my knees. But it addressed other things that I wasn't aware of. And I think that's one of the benefits with the CBD oil and with delving into cannabis on this level. When you do reach out for it in regards to your wellness, you might have a particular ailment in mind, but your system will be re-energized and reactivated to be functioning optimally, and things that you just took as normal will be regulated and changed. It's really quite miraculous.
Yeah, it's funny. And that's one of the things, you know, I think people are always, and I myself am so hesitant to say, oh, it's just this miracle oil.
Yeah, yeah.
But really, this, the more that I learn, you know, that's the best word for it. And like
Yeah.
the way you're describing it, you know, just to have something that intuitively, functions in the body to balance out. It's really wonderful.
Yeah. And it is like Anne Marie Fisher had said in that other episode, that it's like the lock and key. Suddenly you find a key to a lock you didn't even know was there. And this whole new world is opened up as a result of the introduction of the CBD oil or cannabis in whatever form. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What else?
And that's one of the things that I guess is exciting too, again, as we see it sort of begin to, hemp being legalized at federal and state level, that's huge. So that was a really awesome thing to see last fall. And then, I think just with marijuana, that's just going to continue to spread across the states too.
Yeah.
But what is exciting is that doctors are starting to consider it, you know, more realistically, because like you were saying, and this, I think, again, being part of what I am hurt by with the health industry. Yeah. I'm going to call it a health industry because really that's where the problem is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, you know, prescribing, you know, and this is one of the things that I think has been so harmful to why I guess we're so late in finally recognizing the plant as it is. But, you know, doctors are prescribing all of these pharmaceuticals that have their own, you know, that are narcotics and that are addictive and that have really broken a lot of lives. And this was, you know, they thought this was the better approach, you know, was prohibit cannabis because it's going to be addictive and it's going to open this porthole and it's going to bring about violence, which, you know, the prohibition is really actually exacerbated it. So to have doctors, you know, who have been prescribing medications that don't fix the root of the problem and are addressing systems, but not even doing anything within the body to, you know, intuitively remedy the issue. It's really interesting.
It's a bone of contention for me, but I'm trying to be respectful of the fact that in medical school, cannabis is not on the agenda as a subject, much like mental health even isn't on the agenda as a subject. And so there needs to be, we talk about CBD and cannabis hitting us at a cellular level, there needs to be a systematic change to what the medical school is actually teaching, so that we can help the population that they serve. There are people who have mental health issues. There are people who would benefit from cannabis. And you need to know those things in order to be able to present all the options and not just push a particular substance, pharmacological remedy with all its side effects. But that's a whole other topic, I guess.
Yeah, it is another topic, but it's part of the umbrella, I think, under the history of cannabis in general. There was so some of the other, again, all this information, this is where I thought, how do I narrow it down? But it was this must have been from the episode where I was addressing, because I have had a lot of people come to me and who have said they just don't want to try it because they're worried. What we were raised, what was it that everybody says? You know, it's the devil's drug, or you know, but it's like, the gateway drug. So this was and it's not really, and a lot of people, and I liked this term in the research that I had done, where they kind of called it was actually the gateway drug out, because a lot of rehabilitation centers are using it as a way to help addicts come off of heavy drugs.
Exactly.
And the medical system being part of this is part of what, again, going back into the history of cannabis, because it being a very safe drug, and there's the research has always been there to say that it has. We're just Harry Aslinger is from way back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Gosh, was it 40s? I don't know. He was right there from the start, but he was spouting all of the propaganda, and this is really where that gateway drug came from. Was from his propaganda and the prohibitionists who really fought for the prohibition of it. And so because it was prohibited, this safe drug, people have gone to what they can get access to, which is pharmaceuticals. And so and which we hear in the news all the time, this opioid crisis. But some numbers here for you that are just, I think numbers speak volumes sometimes. So there are 48 million in America who are using narcotics for non-medical purposes.
Oh, wow.
48 million.
48 million.
For non-medical uses. 16,000 die a year from overdose. And pill-related treatment admissions rose by 400% from 1998 to 2008. 400%.
Sakes.
Yeah. So, here we just, the gate, a safe drug versus all of these that are addictive, that are accessible. These are what are accessible to people. These are what are being prescribed by doctors, and like you, sort of your story is being that exacerbating the issue almost often when they're prescribed. So no answers.
Have you read any of Dr. Gabor Mate's work? He's a psychiatrist.
No.
He's out in BC now.
Okay.
But he travels all over, and he's worked in palliative care. He's a general physician as well, and but he's done some really extraordinary work with trauma and PTSD and psychedelic medication. And so he's moved very much into the cannabis is a good thing world a number of years ago. But brilliant studies in terms of just understanding the benefits of cannabis and the harm that can be caused to addicts when we stigmatize them for using, some other remedy to alleviate the pain that they're in. And he speaks to this quite a bit. So I encourage you to, I'll send you a link to some of the things that he has to say.
That'd be great.
So where do you get your CBD oil? And are you comfortable with the consistency of it and things?
Yeah, I'm loving, it took me a while. That was, I guess, the other thing was with everything sort of reaching this level of legalization, there's just so much out there.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I'd sort of been hopping around from site to site and was starting to get an idea of what to look for to determine whether you're looking at a quality product or not. But like I said, luckily I had Simone was a great resource. So she recommended this brand, HempWorks, which was the one that I ended up going with because I thought, you know, she's a resource I trust, and the oil had met all of these qualities. So things like, you know, they provided the third-party testing to show, you know, what was in all the different batches, that there's no heavy metals, there's no solvents, there's, you know, it's a pure oil. I liked that they did the CO2 extraction. They have a dry seal locking system, so that so 4 minutes after the plants are picked, they seal them in these dry tight bags, so that there's no, and the cannabis in general, when it goes through the drying process, a lot of people will just hang their plants, but the nature of the plant is that it's very easy for them to develop mold and fungus in the drying process. So there's, you know, that's one of my favorite things about it, because I always worry about that, you know, in our house. So
product is essential.
Yeah. So, and that's especially when you're putting something into your body that's supposed to be healing. You don't want to be putting something in that's just going to, again, exacerbate the effects or make you feel more sick.
Exactly.
So those were the things that had really stood out to me. The company also has one of it's a Hemp Authority seal of certification, so that it sort of tells you this is one of the brands out there that has been certified as a quality product. So that was also really relieving, I suppose. You know, just was checking all of these tick boxes off. So I was able to take it and, you know, felt confident about the quality. And then after seeing the benefits, I thought, yeah, this is the product that's great for me. I'm only taking the 500 milligrams, but we also have a 750, and we just released a 1500 milligrams. So the 750 and the 1500, I find a lot more people who are looking perhaps to replace pharmaceuticals, to come off of prescription meds for pain or anxiety or depression, something like that. They're using those ones just because they're a little bit stronger. But I'm just hearing, you know, great things from so many people. So it's just, I guess, and that's, so I do it so because I love the product, this is just, I thought, yes, I want to share this with other people. I want to help other people to heal and feel their best. And I'm just, when I get feedback from people, you know, that's what I'm hearing. People are sending me, you know, my inbox is filling with messages where people are telling me that they, you know, they're finally feeling like the person that they were, or, you know, I hear that feeling like that veil has lifted from a lot of people, or just to not be suffering. So it's just amazing to see so many people really benefiting from something.
Wow. And so this is a product that you can get in Canada. Yeah, you're in Canada.
Yeah, so we don't ship into Canada yet, unfortunately. Yeah, so because we had spent a lot of time in Alaska, that was a really easy start. Yes. But then, you know, I have my network on social media, and we're open to the UK, we're open to United States. We do have some hemp body care products, which is really awesome. Again, I mean, when you're looking at the whole plant, that's one of the things that I liked about HempWorks too, is not just the quality of the CBD, but I liked that the base was hemp oil. Because hemp oil has a lot of really healthy components. It has the omega-3s and fatty acids and amino acids and all the things that we should be taking. So those are accessible to folks in Canada, but unfortunately, although today is the 17th, isn't it?
That it is.
So we just hit our second round of legalization in Canada. So it's as of today that we are opening. So more, it's the round of legalization that will be allowing more hemp products to be sold. Not because right now, really, the way it looks in Canada is they have, dispensaries,
right,
in like the cities, but
yeah,
and then we also have a lot of reserves up in Canada, so those you can access it too, but it's unregulated. So
right, yeah.
yeah,
Is
just so
not
much going on.
is there not a large hemp farm in Alberta? I think it is,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they don't distribute the oil.
So because it's legalized nationwide,
Yeah.
what I believe they're going, so like any health product, when you go into a store, I think it's the NPN or NPN, there's like a little PIN number
Okay.
that you've got to have on your bottle. And I think that it's just the Health Canada
Okay.
approves the product. So,
So they're in the process of
so
becoming approved, or they're not.
So from what I have understood is I think that they're in the process. Like I think they've applied to Health Canada, this company. And there's even close locally to where I am, there's several hemp farms. So I don't know if it's, I'm assuming it's something to do with trade. So I don't know
Oh, right.
if Canada can sell within Canada or whatever it is. But I have been told that HempWorks is opening to Canada soon, and we've just been kind of rolling out since, I think July. We've just opened to Nigeria, we've opened to Ghana.
Wow.
The UK for a while didn't have the full range. They just had the isolate. So so the UK now is open. So this has all sort of just been rolling out since July. We just opened to Mexico. So we're just kind of waiting. Yeah, there's more countries coming. So
I hope Canada's on the list.
Yeah.
I really hope Canada's on the list. That's
no kidding,
wonderful.
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we're just about to head, my family and I were headed down to Costa Rica, and it's fun that we're hoping for, it's not open there yet either. So just thinking, Canada and Costa Rica, come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How long are you going to Costa Rica for?
Oh gosh, we're not sure. We're between 3 and 6 months. So 3 for sure, and we're hoping 6. We'll see what the universe has in store.
Yeah. Wonderful. So you touched on the fact that you've been doing a live. What is it called, and how long have you been doing it?
The blunt answer is,
which I love. I'm sorry, I can't help but smile. The minute I saw the answer to your Facebook Live, I was like, that is perfect. That's a perfect.
Oh, thank you. I sat with it for a long time. It's like you had said, when you think you have ideas and you're just waiting for them to kind of all come together. This one just came together. I had sort of patiently been sitting on, I had wanted to do a live series, and I actually thought that I was going to do a different wellness inspired series. And then this just came to me, the name just came, and I thought, nope, that's it. And then the lead up to the 17th was, so that was what I thought too. It's a great time as Canada's about to go into the second round of legalization. I thought, why not just put all this information out and share all of the knowledge that's out there about it, because I guess that's what I see. And I wanted to respond to some of the things that people were coming forward with, so that, I'm worried about the dangers of it. I'm worried that it's, this gateway drug. Or, I even had people say, oh, well, you're just, slinging your drugs. And I thought, wow, there's just, can I sit down with you for a little bit? And, and I take it with a grain of salt, but at the same, I thought really is what it comes down to is I really just wish I could share some of this information
Yeah.
because there's things that you're really not realizing.
Yeah.
So that was what inspired the whole notion of the blunt answer. And it's almost, gosh, I've only got 5 more episodes left.
Oh.
And I'm thinking I'm not ready to be done with it.
Oh no.
So
how many
so
episodes you'd set that you were going to do a certain number? Is that why?
30. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And when do you do them?
So typically I try to run them at 4:20. So I just played up everything that I could. Yep. So every day at 4:20. With the girls, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's been what I've most consistently been aiming for. But yeah. And I think too, I mean, it's been nice. There's been, there's always been some response on the lives. I think, that's what I like about Facebook is that with the lives that it just, people can catch it on what they say, the replay after.
Exactly.
And I really like, it was funny when I was watching your YouTube, I realized I had this habit of, with the lives, I like that you can comment as you're listening. So when someone shares, a piece of information, you can kind of respond to it on the spot.
Yeah.
So I liked that component of it. But it's funny, I know. And I think too, again, and maybe why I want to keep with it is there hasn't been a lot of interaction on the videos. I do get some comments, but I thought that there would be more questions from people. Like I thought people would kind of be asking for more, perhaps like more depth in certain elements of it. But I think, people are just at that point where still afraid. And I think, maybe just absorbing the information that they're getting. So it'll be interesting to see.
I found that as well. That there are, though in the videos, there are some comments. There are far more comments that come to me personally. So people will contact me in a private message and discuss and ask. Other people who know of me professionally will be calling or sending me emails through other avenues. But they're hesitant to put their name beneath the episode
publicly,
and which to me is, well, it's pure evidence of the stigma that still remains in spite of the legalization. And it's overwhelmingly sad to me. When they contact me in other ways, I respond, of course, but there's a certain level of sadness. Because they're walking in a stigmatized manner and wanting answers to something that is bubbling up in them, but don't have the courage to step beyond the stigma because of the way people perceive. And I don't mean specifically the people who do respond, but community at large still has that stigma attached with the use of cannabis, which is a shame.
And it's and I think you're kind of prodding at it, but it's not to the fault of any of these people. I really think we look back and it's just been the messages that we've received generationally moving forward. I think unless you do begin to try to learn some of the information behind it, I don't, there's no way to blame people for having that perspective.
No. That's what I mean.
But
that's
you're right.
Sadness comes from, right?
Yeah.
That's where my sadness comes from. And that's really part of what's driven me to step out and say, listen, we need to be talking about this. We need to be talking about it and sharing the information so that we can shatter some of those barriers to people having the full answers of options available to maximize their own health. And if cannabis and CBD oil and the benefits of, tapping into your endocannabinoid system are always under a secret silo, how do people come to know about it, and how do people get help? Yeah.
And I think that as you just sort of talking about that, it makes me think about community in general, right?
Yeah.
And as I was saying, I was going to do a different wellness series, but part of that overall sense of happiness, for any individual, community has to be there. And I think it's funny too. So one of the mentors out there within the field of cannabis that I'm finding super informative is Steve DeAngelo. He opened up Harborside in California. It was one of the first dispensaries. I think it might have been the first medical dispensary in California. So he's full of information. And that's one of the things that, again, detriment to society, but, without any intention to any one person. But you think the number of, the prohibition of it has caused so much ethically to be hidden, children lying to their parents, parents lying to their children, colleagues lying to colleagues, for what? Over a wellness strategy. And that's, again, like you said, just, systemic change needing to happen. Like that's
Absolutely.
That weighs heavily on a culture.
Absolutely.
And as you say, going forward, I think, you probably, because you're a reverend yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then just your field of work too, I would assume you have quite the community. And this is one of the things that I found too, working with HempWorks. Again, just this was one of, not from taking it, but one of the side effects that I didn't expect was the community of colleagues that I would be surrounded by. So, it's that, and that's, I think, one of the benefits of it is it's not just benefiting people health-wise, it's offers financial opportunities. The number, as it's legalized, the number of dispensaries and, plants and, or not, not physical plants, but
like industrial plants.
Farms, industrial plants. Just the number of people that opens jobs up to.
Absolutely.
And then community, it really does. And I think a lot of people have always feared that, with like the violence and that it tear communities apart. But really, this community can, really bring everybody back together. And in Colorado, actually had released some research showing that 6 months after the legalization, crime had actually decreased in communities by 10%. 6 months after legalization. So
that was one of the things that really blessed me, to be honest, was in asking questions and delving into the cannabis industry since I became aware of it. I discovered it it is a multifaceted community of people who genuinely they share their information, they're open and receptive, and the kind of community I've always enjoyed to be a part of, where people are genuinely concerned for one another and helping one another out, and that was a unique discovery to me, finding this community of people who are really very collaborative and supportive and knowledge filled, with your not just the endocannabinoid system, but your whole system at large, and what sort of things would benefit. Like even with you, for example, you come to it as a teacher and as a yoga instructor, and those communities in and of themselves are very generous, helping communities. And I seem to find, that's been my experience anyways up to this point, that people that I found in this industry are very generous and helpful. And so, yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about your yoga instructing, and has this, your introduction to the cannabis industry, is that changed or your yoga practice at all?
It has. It's just, thank you for asking that question. Again, it's so funny. Yeah, it's definitely sparked some inquiry for me, because it's almost like the effects of my yoga practice and meditation are the same as the effects of CBD and cannabis in my life. And it's similar to how you had described it. You were talking about when you were talking to your brother, and how you were sort of explaining how it just, sort of drew everything together. And again, one of the descriptions to with Steve DeAngelo was, he was talking about how he had this issue, where it's either for medical use or for recreational use. And he kind of says, I don't think that there is such a thing as recreational use, because if you're using it for recreation, he had said he had some friends who said, well, no, I just like to take it because I just like the high. And he said, well, but why do you like the high? Well, I get home from a long day at work, and, I'm kind of grumpy, I'm tired, the kids are all wiry when I get home, and my digestion's not so great. So, I don't have an appetite. And then, the kids get to bed and I'm just wiped. Whereas, if I come home and I enjoy some cannabis, then, I'm a little bit more playful with the kids. I get to savor this meal. My appetite is there. We have fun with the kids, with baths. We put them to sleep, and then I have some time to sort of romance with my partner, and it's just like that. So here's, you thought you were just taking it for recreational, but if you went in and you described that first half to a doctor, they might say, well, it sounds like you have, this general sense of, depression or anxiety, whatever.
Exactly.
So I loved how this idea that it just enhances. It's not that it enhances your experience. And I do find, like I've done some meditation, and yoga itself, the practice itself is quite meditative for me. It's always been really has been my wellness practice. If I don't do it, my patience and just my sanity is incomparable to when I include yoga and meditation. So I've really been, there's actually a woman named Dee Dussault who she's based out of California somewhere, but she and I think actually she might have moved down from the Vancouver area, but she teaches something called ganja yoga, where you incorporate cannabis with yoga. And so I've been, one of her books is one that I've been enjoying, and it's just really, ignited some further daydream about. So I think there's a way that you could incorporate both. I know this is my husband said, he says, well, people have been doing that already.
Exactly.
But I guess, like you said too, though, if you can come around to it as a community, like how would it, what's the difference between consuming it yourself and then walking into a class where you don't know, you're trying to hide it or whatever, versus when you walk into a class where everybody else is in the same position as you. Exactly. And
openly in the same position as you. And that's the thing. It's that's what I meant about it being like placed in the secret silo. It's over there somewhere, and we're not going to incorporate it, but we do incorporate it, but secretly. And It's much like, it's funny because yesterday we were having, I uploaded a new episode, and Debbie Facey and I were talking about this exact thing, about the terminology of recreational or medicinal. Those lines are really actually quite blurred, and necessarily so, because you might think you're coming to it recreationally, and just because, but really it's doing something for you medicinally.
Right.
And even when speaking with Anne Marie Fisher in the second episode, she said the same thing. She, as a kid, she fell into, using cannabis without much thought, opting for that as opposed to an alcoholic drink, and but then became aware of the medicinal benefits of cannabis, and realized that even in the recreational use, it was subduing some anxieties and things, and enabling her to socialize in a manner that she hadn't been able to before. And that's the blurred line of medicinal recreational. It really is a very blurred line. Yeah. And well, to me, it's an unnecessary distinction.
Yeah.
It's an unnecessary distinction.
And that's, you're right. And I almost think that when we think about the stigma about it, people feel like they don't have to feel guilty if they're taking it for a medicinal purpose, right? Which is, so like you said, it doesn't really progress that secretive side of it.
Yes.
But I think we'll get there as adult use.
And we have to be honest. Like it needs to evolve. It needs to evolve, and particularly as you discover more and more research is actually being able to be done to confirm what people have known experientially, that there is that lock and key effect. There is the endocannabinoid system that benefits from the introduction of the cannabis, and then everything else is just sort of regulated. So yeah, it really does need to evolve. And
it's funny, as you just kind of roll forward with that, it makes me think the timing is quite interesting. And you had mentioned before too that mental health, and one of the reasons that I'm not back in the public school system is my ethics. My ethics wouldn't let me just go back to it. I had taken time off when I was on bed rest with my daughter, and really felt unsupported and unheard and disrespected through this system. And it was a really big eye-opener. It sounds terrible, but it really was awakening for me.
Absolutely.
And it was an ethical issue for me. And it really made me see through my experience, but it also opened my eyes to a lot of other people who were feeling the same way. And I guess, so what I've been dying to mention here is there's, again, within cannabis use, there's this able-bodied man theory, which fits in so well with any mental health patients or sufferers, whatever you want to term it. But, and I think we're saying, as we're saying this has to happen for cannabis, this has to happen for mental health right now too, especially in the way the world functions today.
Absolutely.
But this able-bodied man theory is that they say there's these men, but really it's any person who comes in and out of any medical rotating door, and they just don't look like patients, right? You see people going in and walking out with this prescription, and you're thinking, well, they don't need it. And this is just something that, like,
yeah,
is again institutional, like at an institutional level, where this is just a problem that sort of sits there, in the work world. So
yeah, and yeah, it does. It's there are a number of barriers. I was speaking with another woman who will be, I think it's in 2 weeks that her episode will be coming up. And she was talking about that as well, just about the multiple barriers to openness about cannabis use, and there, and even multiple barriers to consuming. And one of them definitely is that the stigma that's attached to it is genuinely a barrier for mental health and balanced work ethic and a work-life balance, even within various industries and companies and agencies, where there is absolute stigma attached to any substance use. And so people are not disclosing, and it's when you live in that darkness that problems can arise. And so I really do strongly advocate for open dialogue, regardless of where you sit, whether it's in the doctor's office or, the board office of whatever agency or company. There needs to be an open understanding of the benefits of cannabis and how that contributes positively to work being done. It's much like you were saying, that when you start consuming, your husband noticed the difference, that you were able to parent better. It makes the individual function in their optimum pace and their optimum space. And so why is that a bad thing? And
think of what that would do for a workplace.
Pardon?
Think of what that would do for a workplace, right? If you had your employees coming in feeling that way. Yeah,
exactly. And so on a multitude of levels, this has been really fruitful, this conversation.
I know, it's so great.
But I'm noticed I'm conscious of the time, so I want to kind of wrap up this particular episode. But I also want to ask you if you'd be willing to come back and share more about what you've learned, and how you're studying and how your Facebook Live is evolving. Would you be willing to
I would love to. Yes, if you'd have me.
Absolutely.
This is just,
absolutely.
I love it. Yeah.
And, is it possible for people to get in touch with you or see those Facebook Lives if they're interested?
Yeah. So, gosh, I had a friend who, she was so funny. She says, "I'm just loving all of your lives. They're so informative, but I haven't caught them all." She says, "I want to do a Netflix binge on them. How do I get them?"
Exactly.
So I did go, and it was hard to see through my profile, but if you go, so Meg Williams on Facebook is the easiest way to find me. And that's where all the videos are. But if you go into my profile, like where you would go in to look at somebody's photos, there's usually there's a folder. When I look at it, it looks like there's a folder of videos. So excellent. I'm hoping that when you guys go on and look at it, the folder of videos, it doesn't look like I can pull them into a separate folder. So that's one thing that I've been thinking of, maybe uploading them and doing, adding them onto YouTube, to a YouTube channel. But they are on Facebook, so you are able to go back in, and there's 30 of them. There will be 30 of them. So
what I'll do for sure is I'll have that linked in the description below this episode, so people can find you through your Facebook link, and then go in and watch your video. And by all means, people, comment, say a little something.
Yeah.
Let her know that you're
it's
there.
Okay.
And,
I know.
and what you think. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we kind of wrap up for today?
No, I think, I feel like that we really covered a broad range of info there. So lots to save and come back with another time.
Excellent.
Set that up. So that was great. Another way, if you wanted to reach me by email, I can, I'm happy to share my email too. So I don't know if I can send that
and we'll put that in the
Okay.
link as well. So I'll have a little
that in the
section
Facebook
for Meg Williams contact info, and then your info will be in there so that people can actually contact you and email, and definitely watch and comment on your Facebook lives.
and your YouTube videos too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Both of us.
Absolutely.
We want the comments. Just, and like you said, I think too, it's just, and as we spread the information, comments is just nice. I find too, it's because it can kind of guide us on where we can share more information.
Exactly. And what we will share next. So questions are always welcome. And they're always welcome because it actually fuels the next discussion. Thank you so very much, Meg, for coming, sharing, for letting us into your world, and for doing what you do. Congratulations on the children.
You too.
The no more tummy upsets, and the nice and the better relationship with your partner.
Oh, thank you. Doesn't that just sound so great? Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, for having me on. And I just love this that you're doing. And it's great to follow all these. I'll be watching you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay. And for y'all who've been watching, thank you so much for watching, and know that we upload every Wednesday around 6 p.m. A new episode in the CATO'S Cannabis Chronicles series. And on Sundays, we upload a new episode in the Stories of Victory Over Adversity series. Right now, we're talking about parenting parents, and what to do when you have to care for a parent who is suddenly unwell. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment, as always. Thank you so much, Meg.
Thank you, Kimberly. Have a great night.
You too, hon. You too. So there we have it, everyone. There we have it. It was wonderful meeting with Meg. Wonderful that y'all could be here and hear the wonderful things that she's doing. Make sure to go and look at her Facebook Live, and gain some information about what she's discovered on her journey. I'll have the links and everything below as I promised. And again, be sure to like, be sure to comment, and please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you can be alerted when we upload new episodes. Have yourself a great evening, and know that you are loved and you are greatly, greatly highly favored. You be well now. Bye now.